We as people will often choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. You need to prove to your mind that you can hold more, that you can achieve more. You know that if you indulge in too much dopamine and your full focus in life is just experiencing dopamine, whether you realize it or not, and that's how you are living your life, you will become an undisciplined person because the brain loses its will to live, its will to pursue. Too many people are trying to reach these goals without doing the inner work, and they never get there because of the self-sabotage. Self-sabotage. Every single one of you guys watching this video or listening to this podcast have all self-sabotage at some point. Now, we can recognize in some areas when we're self-sabotaging because it's really obvious. Like maybe we are trying to achieve a new goal, but suddenly we become really unmotivated before doing it. We become lazy and we don't follow through with the tasks or the actions needed to achieve the goal. That's obvious. But we actually self-sabotage way more than we realize in ways that we do not expect. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that today. I'm also going to talk about why we actually do this, because when we actually see what's really going on, why we're actually doing this, the psychology behind why we're actually doing this, then we can see it for what it is, take a step back, realize what we're doing, and then we don't have to continue with it anymore. Then we don't have to allow for it anymore. But we have to see it for what it is in order for this to be done. Before we begin, my name is Naomi Dunn and I am an inner work coach and an EFT practitioner. On this channel, I talk about all things inner healing and personal development. So if you like those topics, I really recommend that you subscribe. And if you feel called to coaching, I do offer that, and that can be booked down below in the link in the description or in the link in the comments. And I offer Zoom call coaching and voice note coaching. Okay, let's begin. So like I just said, there are numerous ways that people self-sabotage without even realizing, in ways they would never actually expect. A lot of things that we label as coincidental on our path to a certain goal that happen, that block us from getting to that goal, oftentimes, I would say majority of the time, those things are not actually coincidences. Even if you think it's completely impossible, it really is the truth. That a lot of the times when we experience these things that prohibit us from going further or getting closer to our goal, those things that block us are not just because of life and life's circumstances and coincidences. They're actually our body self-sabotaging so we do not get to the goal. And just wait, I'm going to tell you exactly why we self-sabotage goals that are really good for us, even if we know they're good for us. Why on earth would we do that? I'm going to tell you why. But first, let me give you some examples of what this looks like. You might find yourself going towards a goal and suddenly you get sick. Okay, you just think to yourself, my immunity must be low. I was around people who were sick, therefore I got sick. This is just how life works. It's really unfortunate because now I can't do that thing. Now I can't work on my goal. I'm tired, I'm sleepy, I need to rest in bed. I can't actually do the thing I wanted to do. But hey, that's life. That's not always just life. That's your body intentionally becoming sick because it did not want you to move towards the goal. This is the most common one that I see that people don't expect when it comes to how they self-sabotage. It wasn't your immunity. It was your subconscious mind's choice to allow you to become sick so that you wouldn't reach the goal. Another really common one I see people when they get into their first healthy relationships, okay? They're really happy. It's their first relationship that's healthy and they've never experienced anything like it. They've never had so much romance in their life. Everything is going so good. Oh, they experienced a fight with their partner. A fight because maybe the partner left the fridge door open, or maybe the partner did this certain thing and you thought, yeah, we have fights over things like this because their partner did something annoying. What if you actually subconsciously chose to pick the fight? Indulged in the pain of the fight to amplify the fight because you subconsciously wanted to self-sabotage the joy and the bliss that was coming from having your first healthy romantic relationship. Very common. Again, another one. Someone is trying to reach a sport goal and all of a sudden they get an injury. Oh, that's life. That's life. Sometimes we get injuries. Sometimes we fall down the stairs. Sometimes these things happen. No. What if your body physically changed itself so the muscle fibers would weaken in the moment prior to you getting that injury so that the injury would happen so that you couldn't reach that new goal, your new goal in that certain sport, because maybe your body has never reached such high achievement before and your body self-sabotage. I have seen this too. Be open-minded, because the more open-minded you are about this, the more you can put an end to things that are happening behind the scenes. Why on earth would we do this? There's something that Joe Dispenza says. I agree with a lot of what Joe Dispenza says, not 100% of everything, but something that he says that I fully agree with is the fact that we as people will often choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. Because we love familiar, even if it feels bad, even if it's not good for us, and even if we logically know it's not something we should go towards, we will choose the familiar. Our brain believes that we will be safe if we stay in familiar instead of going to dangerous territory because it's unfamiliar. Even if that's not dangerous, your mind will perceive it as dangerous because it is unfamiliar. So knowing that, we have to understand this concept that Gay Hendricks says, which is that we have upper limits for everything in our life. Upper limits, we can also consider this like a container. Okay, so let's say you are that person who is self-sabotaging the first romantic relationship you've ever had in your life. If you've only had a small amount of healthy romance in your life, then your container, the amount you can hold, the limit for how much you can hold of romance and love will likely be a very small container because that's what's familiar to you. So what will happen if you have this small container? If you add too much into the container will overflow. So let's say we have a physical container and water. Okay, let's say the container is filled to the top of romance and love. That's the most amount of romance and love and health you have ever experienced in a relationship. If you decide to pour more water into that container, what's going to happen? It's going to overflow because the container cannot hold it. Okay, let's say you were the person who is trying to reach an achievement you have never reached before. If you've only reached X amount of achievement and you have this belief system in your mind that you can only achieve a certain amount and it's filled to the top because you've already gotten so close to achieving your goal, right before you get the goal, the brain knows, the mind knows that if you get the goal, you will get over the top and the water in the container is going to overflow. We self-sabotage when our containers overflow, when we reach the cap for the amount we can hold. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to expand these containers so that we can hold more, so that we don't self-sabotage, lose motivation, something happens in our physical reality, something happens in our mental health, something happens in our relationships, so that we don't get the goal we are trying to achieve because we know it's good for us. We have to learn to expand the container so we can hold more. So I'm going to tell you how we do this and my personal example of how recently I was deciding that I'm going to become the most resilient and most disciplined version of myself and how I self-sabotaged that for myself and what I did and how I took care of it. So how do we do this first? How do we expand these containers before I share this story with you? The first thing is if we reach that point where we sabotage and it overflows, that's okay. But we have to see what's actually going on here. Okay, so sometimes we have consequences to deal with when it overflows. Maybe we have to take care of that fight, that injury, that thing that happened. We have to take care of our mental health because it overflowed. Okay, we take care of it because we care about ourselves. That's completely fine. But now to overcome it so it doesn't happen next time, we speak to the version of ourself that's sabotage as if it's like another person. Because the version of ourself that is self-sabotaging is a part of the brain. And that part of your brain is like a toddler, okay? It's like a 3-year-old child who's throwing a tantrum because it doesn't want to go as far as you're telling it to go. And you speak to that version of yourself. You say, I get to have the healthy relationship now. And my favorite thing to say after that is, this is my norm. This channel is called Disrupt Your Norm, so you can have a better norm. So I love to say, this gets to be my norm. I get to have this achievement. I get to be this version of me. I get to achieve this thing. I get to do this thing. It is good for me. I get to. This is my norm. Okay, so saying this is the first powerful step we take. That part of our brain, like I said, is like a toddler. So we speak firm if we have to, and we speak calm and we speak kind, but we tell the child the truth. This is the truth. We get to have this in our reality now. This gets to be who we are now. Because versus before, you allowed the self-sabotage to happen often unknowingly, but it just went by and nothing really changed and you just had to deal with the consequences of the self-sabotage. But now, you see it for what it is and you say to yourself, no, I see what you're doing. I see how you're trying to change things around. I see how you're trying to not allow me to achieve that goal. I see how you're trying to put up this brick wall that's blocking me from getting to the goal, but I get to have this goal. This is who I get to be. So we deal with the consequences, we move forward, but while we are moving forward, we are saying to ourselves, this gets to be our norm. And even before we self-sabotage, if we know this is an unfamiliar zone, an unfamiliar goal, we say during the entire process, we get to achieve this goal. We get to be this new version of ourselves. And there is a really powerful way to say those words with way more conviction. And this is through getting into what I like to call the knowing state. Okay, so we do something so that when we say those words such as, I get to be the person who can achieve this thing, I get to be this new version of ourselves, we do something that creates reasoning for the brain to believe why this is true for you. Okay, so my favorite 2 methods that I tell people and that I do on myself is I will do a journal session or I will do an EFT tapping session on myself. If you don't know how to do EFT, I have a video on that. I also offer coaching with EFT, but it is something that you can learn to do on yourself, or you can have a journal session. I think that's the most powerful. Or you can simply go on a walk and talk to yourself and reason with yourself why this is true for you. I get to have this achievement because look at every other achievement I have achieved in my life. Think back on all of the achievements, even the minor ones, that you have achieved. So you have this belief system in your brain of, oh yeah, I get to have this. I get to have this healthy relationship. Look at all of these other people around me having healthy relationships. Question, why would I not be capable? Why would I not deserve? Why would I be the person who shouldn't have that? Why is that true for me? Realize it's a lie. Whatever belief system you have as to why you can't have that thing is a lie. Reason with yourself. When you get that reasoning, then you will know. If you know, you know. You will get that feeling of conviction of, oh yeah, of course I can do this thing. Of course I can have this relationship. Of course I can achieve this goal. Of course I can become this version of me. Why not? You have the reasoning and then you move forward. The self-sabotage may or may not happen. If it does, you take care of it, you resolve it, but you continue moving forward. And what might happen after the self-sabotage is the path might become more rocky, okay? Because of the self-sabotage, things may have gone a little bit downhill. But you make the full-bodied decision. I'm achieving this thing because I'm expanding my container because I get to have this. I get to hold this. Okay, so even if the path is rocky, you continue to move forward to prove to yourself this is something you can still do. Because I was helping somebody the other day with recovering from the fact that they self-sabotage on their way towards a goal. So they self-sabotaged towards a goal that was important to them as a person. The area they were trying to reach an achievement, it was a beneficial area, it was an important area in their life, but it wasn't everything. But it was important, okay? I said to this person that, you self-sabotage in this area, we can see it for what it is. So I helped this person get into the knowing state by looking back on all of their achievements so that they can move forward with the acceptance and the knowing and affirming with the knowing that they're the person who can achieve these things. And I said, if you didn't self-sabotage in that moment, what would have happened later on down the line with other achievements that are way more important to you as a person, that you value way more than this current experience? See, if we don't take care of the self-sabotage, even with the smaller areas in regards to achievement, then the bigger areas that come, such as achieving more in our work life, such as achieving more in our family life, being the best parent we can be, being the best worker we can be, things that are of more importance than the thing that we may be dealing with now, if we don't take care of the self-sabotage of the achievement now, what will happen is when we go towards those bigger things that are of more importance, we will self-sabotage then. So thank God if we can see the self-sabotage now with what we are doing, we put an end to it now. Then when these other achievements come and we go towards these other goals later on in the future, we will go towards them easier and they are of more value. So that's what I said to this person, that it was working in their favor that they self-sabotage in this arena, in this area, because now they can do the inner work to end it. Because when the more important goals come, they will not self-sabotage, or they will at least not self-sabotage to the same extent, because they had done the inner work previously. So that's why I'm encouraging you. If you see the self-sabotage and the path to getting towards that goal is now rocky, still continue to move forward with persistence, because you need to prove to your mind that you can hold more, that you can achieve more, so that later on down the life, you don't have to do as much inner work in this area because you've already proven to yourself that you can do these things, that you can hold these things. Now, I have seen self-sabotage be really, really destructive. Really, really devastating in people's life. Very devastating. Okay, so this is why this is actually a very serious topic, and this is something I really wanted to help you guys with, because we don't need it to become devastating. We don't want it to become devastating for us, okay? I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying it to maybe help you recognize what areas did I self-sabotage and it was devastating, okay? How can I prevent this in the future again? This is how we prevent it, okay? So let me now share with you, if you're interested, my story of how I very recently self-sabotage. Okay? I'm never here to tell you that I don't self-sabotage and I don't have any inner work to do. No, the reason I can help you guys so well is because I work on myself first. And then I come and I teach you guys and I help other people through what I've learned. So I said, I want to become a better version of myself and become the most resilient version of myself I can be by becoming the most disciplined version of myself I could be. I've been studying a lot about discipline, the psychology of discipline, the impact discipline has on the brain. And so I said, I really want to become the most disciplined version of myself. So I set specific work goals that I had never set before. Okay? I set these work goals, and there's a little bit of history you need to know about me, is that when I was in high school, and as a child, I was a very, very lazy person. Okay, I indulged in so much dopamine. Okay, so much dopamine. And if you know anything about dopamine, you know that if you indulge in too much dopamine and your full focus in life is just experiencing dopamine, whether you realize it or not, and that's how you are living your life, you will become an undisciplined person because the brain loses its will to live, its will to pursue. Okay, I know that sounds harsh and deep and dark, but these are terms that have been scientifically proven that we actually lose our will to live because of a part of the brain that decreases when we indulge in too much dopamine. Therefore, we are not disciplined and we do not have the drive to go towards our goals. So that was me in high school. Then I became an adult and I decided I'm going to become more disciplined. And I became more disciplined by slowly expanding my container of the amount of discipline I could hold. Okay, but there was a jump I was trying to reach. If you want to call it a quantum leap, then you can call it a quantum leap. That means that we skip steps and get to a goal faster than what the average person gets to because we get there at a faster speed. So I wanted to quantum leap to the version of myself that is the most disciplined version of myself. Now, I have been disciplined for a while, but I had not been the level I was setting out for myself. The goal that I had set out for myself to be, I had not been that level yet. Okay, but I had made the decision. I'm going to be this version of me. But there was still this slight belief system in my brain, and the belief system was that I was still not a fully disciplined person because of my past. Okay, that was the belief system I had. So one of my goals for my work was to film X amount of videos a day. Okay, every single time, the day after I made this decision, I was about to film, something happened. I didn't mention this earlier. I wish I did because I don't know how many people are still watching this video, but I needed to mention that our belief systems affect our biology, so it can do things such as weaken the muscle fibers in the body. Okay, so if we claim we are clumsy, the muscle fibers physically weaken, which has been scientifically proven because our thoughts affect every single cell in the body. So self-sabotage will show up for a lot of people as the body acting in accordance to the belief that we have, by making it weaken or by making it do things or by certain things happening because the thoughts are affecting the cells. Okay, so that was a point I needed to point out that I didn't point out previously, but let's continue. So something would happen every single time before I would film a video. Okay, it got hilarious. It actually got hilarious because when I saw it for what it was, I was realizing how ridiculous it really was. It was ridiculous. So the first thing that happened, I was about to sit down and film. I got a FaceTime call immediately. What did I do? I chose to pick up the call, knowing if I pick up this call, the sun is going to go down. I will not have good lighting and I will not film. I didn't film that day. The next day, I was about to film my video. Before I film my video, I go and take the laundry out. I say, I'm just going to take care of this real quick. I'm going to take the laundry out. I take the laundry out and the door, I push it down too much. As I take the laundry out, the laundry door was already a little bit broken. The laundry door breaks off. I have to call my friend over. I'm like, hey, I broke the washing machine. Not the laundry door, the washing machine door. I broke the washing machine door. Okay, my friend has to fix it in the same room that I was going to film my videos in. The sun goes down, I can't film. The next day, I find myself about to film and suddenly getting physically so exhausted. I say, I can't film. I have to take a nap. I am so physically exhausted. I don't know what's going on. Am I sick? I don't know what's happening. I have to go to sleep. I took a nap. These are ways that we can self-sabotage. No, they were not coincidences. They were choices. Now, have I filmed videos before in the past? Sure. But I had tried to expand my container so big, so fast that my brain did not want me to get to that unfamiliar territory of filming X amount of videos per day, because that was not the version of me that was familiar, that was safe. I was never that level of discipline before. As I was trying to become that version of myself, my mind said no. So what did I do in this self-sabotage? Number one, I recognized, okay, I'm self-sabotaging. And I really did laugh about it because it was honestly hilarious at that point what I was doing just to not reach that goal. I recognized it for what it was, and then I said to myself, okay, so tomorrow, this is exactly what I'm going to do. I said I'm going to continue on this path even though it's a little bit rocky now, but this is exactly what I'm going to do because I get to be a disciplined person. I am a disciplined person now. That's it. It is what it is. This is who I am. Okay, so I continued to move forward. It was a little bit rocky, but I went through with the goals that I had set for myself each day. I went through with it. Even if symptoms showed up or things happened, I affirmed again, no, this is who I am now. I get to be the disciplined version of myself now. And guess what? I'm not self-sabotaging anymore because I have now allowed myself to become that version of myself. So I look back and I see all of these things. And I have self-sabotage in many different ways before, but I have done this work so I could then hold and become those new versions of me multiple times. And I love helping people with this too, because we can all see, myself and the other person, when we see it for what it is, we can all see what's really going on. And then the changes can be made. And you look back on those versions of me, you can almost laugh at the self-sabotage, but you look back on how far you've come because you did the inner work. Too many people are trying to reach these goals without doing the inner work, and they never get there because of the self-sabotage. If you come this far, be proud of yourself for caring about yourself enough to reach your goals. So good job, you. I'm going to give you a rundown. Let's go through a rundown because I think there was a lot of information in this. So let's start with the belief systems in the brain. So the belief systems in the brain can physically affect the body's biology and can change a lot of things. So therefore, we can create self-sabotage unknowingly. We create self-sabotage when we go towards goals that are unfamiliar to the mind because unfamiliar feels unsafe to the mind. So we create these brick walls to stop us from getting to the goal. What do we do if we reach the brick wall or we anticipate reaching this brick wall? What we do is, one, if we reach the brick wall, we self-sabotage in some way, we deal with our physical reality and we take care of it the best that we know how. Or if we anticipate that the wall may come, we make sure that we speak in a knowing state that we are now the version of us, or we get to be that version of us that we are trying to achieve. It may require you to do some inner work to be able to have the belief that, yes, of course this can be me. You say it as if you are saying that you have blonde hair if you have blonde hair. Yes, I get to have these achievements. Yes, I get to have this relationship. Yes, I get to be this version of me. You say it with the knowing, and you speak to that version of yourself as if it is a child. With a firm voice, be calm, be kind, but say, no, this is who I get to be. You do not have say in this situation. This is who I get to be. This is who I'm choosing to be. Okay? We expand the container. We expand what we can hold. We expand how much achievement we can hold, how much good relationships we can hold, how much joy we can hold by saying, this is who we get to be, this is who we get to be, and this is our new norm. You say it with the knowing, and you continue to move forward, recognizing what's really happening, even if the path becomes rocky, and you pursue that goal with that knowing each and every time. And what happens is that side of your brain that believes it's unsafe to hold more, to achieve this thing, will realize as you are continuing to move forward that it is safe. And as you are affirming and saying with the knowing that this is your new truth and this is who you get to be, the more that side of your brain goes, okay, I guess we are safe. I guess this is who we are. I guess this is our familiar now. It becomes familiar, and then there's no longer a need to self-sabotage. Because the only reason we self-sabotage in the first place is because it felt unsafe and unfamiliar. But this is how you make it familiar, make it your norm, so that you end self-sabotage for good.